We're going to be working with mockups for web pages, and this is a Illustrator document right here that's a mockup for a Paul Bunyan resume project. But let's jump into some of the basics behind this whole thing before we get too carried away. This is the new document window from Illustrator, and we go to all these different choices in the new document profile. You can see that you can create a print document of typical print sizes. You can print or do a web document of typical web sizes. And the big thing to notice here is your color mode is in RGB. Your screen resolution is 72 pixels per inch for raster effects, things like shadows and automatic blurs and things. And you align new objects to a pixel grid, which you don't get in the print. It goes to 300 CMYK. That is turned off. So if we make ourselves a brand new web document, we can be assured that everything we build on this thing will align to a pixel grid. Pretty cool, huh? Now let me pick a color. Let me turn off the stroke for the moment, and I'll create a very small rectangle so that it's sort of manageable to look at it when we get down to the nitty-gritty. You notice that these are all whole numbers here. X and Y coordinates for this thing are all in whole numbers, and the size is in whole numbers. So anything I do to this is going to stay in whole numbers. That's because it's aligning to the pixel grid down here. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so it's now aligned to the pixel grid. Now if we don't want it to align to the pixel grid, we turn that off, and if we do any alterations to this box now, you'll see that all of my pixel numbers here go to fractional pixels. Now how does that affect our approach to web graphics? The view pixel preview will give you an idea what's going to happen here. You'll see that some of the edges didn't land exactly on a pixel, and they had to anti-alias, meaning it puts a kind of a medium tone between the white color and the pink color along the edge to give you a pixel transition that is kind of softens the jump between those two. This edge right here happened to still be on a pixel, and it's nice and clean. Okay, so the pixel preview is actually kind of a magical thing. If you do any alterations at all, it will, oops, didn't catch the width there, or the height. Okay, so you start moving things around with this pixel preview turned on, it snaps everything right back onto a pixel. Turn it off. Move it around. You can see that the coordinates are now in fractions. Go back and look at this again. You can see, yep, sure is. It's all fuzzy on the edges. I just move it a little bit though, and it cleans right up. Also, if I turn that off, move it around so the edges would get fuzzy again, but you click on Align to Pixel Grid, snaps it right back into compliance. So that is that's the part of building with Illustrator that you want to keep an eye on. Is you want to keep this pixel grid going. You want to build the page to the size that you're actually going to make the page, because if you do it on a big print document, you'll be aligning to a pixel grid, but they won't be anywhere near the size of pixels that you'll build for your web page. Now, you have to keep in mind that this is only a horizontal and vertical effect, meaning that you can make a nice clean line of pixels going along the horizontal and vertical edges of a pixel shape. But if you, oops, not that one, select the point. If I make this at all diagonal off of the horizontal and pixel, it becomes a typical rasterized anti-alias pixel edge. So that is, it only affects the horizontal and vertical, if you had a, for example, a little icon or something that had internal shapes, you'd still have all of these on anything that wasn't horizontal and vertical, but at least you can keep your edges nice and sharp for web graphics. We'll move that over just to, there we go, and right back to whole pixels. And that is kind of the story of doing this stuff in Illustrator. We might pop into Photoshop real quickly. Let's make ourselves a blank document. Now Photoshop, I happen to have a image here that's a certain number of pixels, and if I take a quick look at this, I can see that this shape does have the anti-elist edges on it. If I have anything that isn't a complete horizontal vertical. Now if I pick a color, I make myself a selection and fill it with a color. Well, in Photoshop it's going to go right to the pixel or no pixel. If I'm working on the actual web size of the page, when I create horizontal vertical pixels with a precise tool like a selection, it will create that. Now if I use a tool that doesn't make hard edges, I get the anti-elist edges. If I do a rectangle, it gives me nice sharp edges. So that's the native behavior of Photoshop. So those are two things to watch out for when you're building web graphics for your mockup. You want to build them in such a way that they translate nice and cleanly to the web, and you don't get fuzzy edges here and there where you didn't expect them.